Welcome back to episode 106 of AyyScare Plays Front Office Football 8. And if you're just tuning in now, to be quite honest, you probably haven't missed too much. Our team's definitely been struggling. We're definitely in one of those kind of bouts right now where we are having a really hell of a time getting a decent quarterback. So that's the main goal of this episode. And just to recap, we went 7-9 last year. Our quarterback, so we had a different quarterback at the beginning of the season. He was doing terribly, so I dropped him. And we picked this guy up 2 episodes ago. But this was kind of a guy that we traded for with the hope that he would, transform into being a starter for us. Last season, he went 7 touchdown passes to 19 interceptions, which is atrocious. The one thing I will say about it, now that I've taken a little bit of time to, digest what happened in our last episode and things like that, he is still slated right now to become a 52. We threw him into the mix, and right now he's considered a 30. The other side to this is if you're 4 years in the league and still only considered a 30, I struggle to believe that you're going to actually become this future estimate. I think that this is a case where our scouting staff is probably off. But we will see what next year brings us. The one other thing that I did not note last season that I noticed when I was looking over the stats, DJ Martin, who's been our star wideout, Middleton did not really have him as an option. DJ Martin did get severely injured last year. He's actually out with a reconstructive knee surgery. And he's already 32, which means in this game, I'm probably expecting him to come back and still play. But there is a chance he could retire. There's also a decent chance that he comes back and all of his stats fall off a cliff. There's obviously still the chance that he comes back and he's basically how he was, but definitely a rocky road. So let's go ahead, hop in here. We'll retain staff. Go ahead and give him a raise. He was still top last season. Staff draft here. So there are a number of head coach options that are above my guy. Although my overall stats seem better. Now, not every one of these stats exactly matters. For your head coach, obviously like player development and stuff will be good, scouting will be good, but mainly motivation, discipline are 2 of the main ones for your head coach. And in that case, I'm kind of around 50 on each. This guy's actually very high in both. And this guy has some overall decent looking stats. He's basically been 500 as a head coach. Let me just look it up because I don't know what this play style is. Philosophy. I'll just do it under the index. It's considered offensive philosophy. What are we looking at? So we'd be looking at a lot of short passes, basically. Short slants, short passes. Now, one thing I will say about that, if we transition into that kind of strength and that kind of play calling, or that kind of coach, one thing I'm not sure about, I'm not sure if that play style matters for the coach or if that's going to be mainly our offensive coordinator. But what I will say here is if we are stuck, I'm using the word stuck here, with Middleton, right now we would technically need to franchise him, or actually he's not worth franchising. I would probably have to get him super cheap off of free agency. This like short slant and things like that would fall directly into this guy's wheelhouse. How long has this guy been our head coach? Now I don't even remember. But that's right, he was the guy that was defensive coordinator for the championship team. And then we picked him up as our head coach. Let's give this guy another year. I don't want to throw him under the bus too early because he's still a very young head coach. We still have top offensive coordinator, top defensive. Let's see, there is an assistant head coach a little bit higher on the board here. Let me see here. Ooh, yeah, this guy's definitely better than the assistant coach we have now. Go ahead, swap assistant coaches. And there is technically a better strength coach, so we'll go ahead and select him. So our three main coaching positions we kept the same. We'll go ahead, let's take a quick look here. If there's anybody that we're overpaying. How much are we paying? No, we're not paying that guy much at all. This guy put up 6.5 sacks last year. That being said, we are paying him quite a bit and we have better linebackers. So, which guy was I actually just looking at? I was looking at this guy. I'm going to go ahead and release him. He's still going to count $4.5 million against our cap, but it will open up a little bit more spending money for us. All right. And we're still not 100% sure about DJ Martin, so we'll have to keep that in mind. Let's see really quickly if anybody retired. Transaction log. A tight end, but he was not our main tight end, so that's okay. So we didn't lose all that much. Yeah. With how things are going, let's take a quick look at attitude. One guy with a conflict is off the team this year, so that's not a problem. We have a number of players going into 1 year remaining. And it will be very interesting to see here in 1 second. Let's go ahead and start free agency and see how things are looking. All right. What draft position do we have? We have pick 13. Okay, that's not that bad. We should be able to grab somebody now. Big note here. Top 2 picks this year are quarterbacks. Look at this guy. This guy's already 35% developed. Ridiculous 40 time. Look at those bars. Let's look at the other guy. Again, almost across the board, crazy high. What about this guy? You can see it instantly. I mean, this guy is still good enough that he should definitely be an upgrade to what we've been using, at least after a year or two. Oh, man. We might have to try trading up for Harry McGee. Let's run through a little bit of free agency, and then we'll deal with the draft. All right. We are going to do... We have to do our team first. So, Darren Parrish. Highly rated defensive end for us. He's played with us 3 years. Those are some good sack and tackle numbers for a defensive end. He's increased. He's gotten better every year, which is another great thing to see. What's he asking for? Now, those numbers look big, but defensive ends tend to get paid quite a bit. So he's looking to basically become a top 5 defensive end. Let's remind ourselves. So we still have Jermaine. He's getting up there in age now, though. He's still doing extremely well for us. So he went for 11 sacks last year. And then we still have another guy down here who's not playing as well. So I think it is going to be key for us to keep Parrish. So let's go ahead, negotiate this. Defensive end. So top 5 would be 30 million, which is what he would make 4th year in his contract. I'm not going to try to piss this guy off. Let's just go ahead and accept it. And I'm happy that he actually signed a 5-year deal. That eases up some things that are going to come into play. Nicholas Patino, he has been incredible so far, and he's ridiculously high rated. He is going to be somebody that we are going to have to pay out the wazoo for next year. So one reason that we have to keep an eye on our cap. Let's see if I were to try to sign him now. Franchise salaries for that. Actually, it's going to kind of hurt me this year because technically this year he would have played for 11 million and next year for 13 million. And so I'm going to be paying him more the next 2 years. But this should be a steal when it comes to the final 3 years of his contract. So I'm going to go ahead and actually sign him to that extension now. So now we have Patino and Parrish. They're going to kind of be our defensive leaders going into probably the next 5 years. So that should be good. Our tackle that we drafted, I believe, 1st round last year. Yep, 1st round. He's looking to become a very good tackle. So good about that. How did our kicker do? He kicked 71% from beyond 50, perfect from point afters, and overall 77. I mean, with 50 plus being as good as it was and not missing an extra point, I'll go ahead and negotiate him. And that's not bad at all for a kicker, actually. So take that. DJ Martin, we're going to have to wait. He's a player that next year we might franchise. But coming off of such a big injury, I don't want to sign him to anything crazy beyond this year. Let's see. Here's our other defensive end. Let me just check their endurances. Super good endurance. Good enough endurance. Okay. So we'll still have this other defensive end this year, but I'm not going to bother re-signing him since defensive ends tend to be really expensive. How much is this guard asking for? Is this the guard that was No. One of our guards, I think 2 years ago, did make Pro Bowl. It wasn't this guy, But this guy's ratings are still really good. Although he allowed 10 sacks last year. Hold up. That's no good. That's a big spike. And his blocking percentage dropped. I mean, he was still definitely a starting guard for us. With how many sacks he allowed last year, I'm actually going to not re-sign him right now. As I mentioned last episode, our offensive line, we now have this tackle who will come in, but our offensive line is getting old, so we need to be careful about that. We need to make sure that we keep a good offensive line. Here's a young defensive end who's asking for nothing, so we'll go ahead and keep him. Cornerback that looks like he'll progress well. Go ahead and re-sign him. We have a bunch of 1 years down here. Let's just run through them real quick. This guy's probably asking for a crap ton. Actually, he's not asking for much. What do his stats look like? He's only gotten 1 interception. His tackles have increased every year. His pass defended did drop last year. All right, because we have that guy. Then we have this young guy down here. So I'm not going to bother re-signing him right now. This guy's an outside linebacker, not asking for much. Yeah, and he went for 70 tackles the past 2 seasons. Go ahead, get him. Which guy was it? Oh, this guy already signed the 1-year deal with us. Okay. Is this the guard that... Yes, this guy has made Pro Bowl 2 years. So let's go ahead, sign him. He's not asking for much. All right. So going into free agency, we actually don't have as much money as we've had past seasons. We obviously know quarterback is main concern. We do really need another wide receiver option. DJ Martin, again, we really don't know how he's going to do this year and moving forward. And then if you look, not a single other wide receiver is even listed here. So wide receiver is definitely a problematic area for us. We need to get another defensive tackle or nose tackle. Okay. So let's take a look here at the gray sheet. All right, so in round 2 or stage 2, we also did lose that running back. Do we have a... No, we don't have a running back up here either. Yeah. All right. Are there any quarterbacks? There are 3 quarterbacks, although this guy got franchised. Parker Harding. This is the guy that actually played for us, isn't it? This is the guy that ended up dropping. He didn't even do well, but I guess similar to us, Denver looked at this and said, yeah, our coaching staff thinks that this guy can be better than he's playing right now. So they actually used their franchise tag on him, which is interesting. So there's only actually 2 options here. This guy, he's 36. He's actually had a very interesting career. He's played for the same team the entire time. The last 3 seasons were actually the best 3 seasons of his career. Interesting. Let's take a quick look-see at his... He has really high leadership, but not high intelligence. Again, if we're going to try to draft one of those young quarterbacks, Getting an older quarterback with high intelligence would be ideal for us. That would make it so that he could hopefully train him up for a year. Kind of like your Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes kind of situation. This guy does not look good at all, at least according to my scouting staff. So, short answer here is that we need to get one of those young quarterbacks. Let's actually deal with that before we go through free agency, because I am worried about what we're going to have to give up here. Top team or top pick this year is Pittsburgh. Let's go take a look at their team. They have a good quarterback. Still 3 years on his contract. But he's 34. Which means if they were kind of smart, if they were playing it the way that I would, once I get a good quarterback and he gets up to that, let's say 12 to 15 years in the league, if I have the shot at getting another great prospect, I do go for it. So Pittsburgh could go with that strategy. As a result, if we want the top guy, I think we have to trade with Pittsburgh. I don't think, Gerald, he's pretty damn good too. But just for the hell of it, let's see here. ANC, I believe it's going to be Anchorage. So Anchorage will absolutely be going a quarterback. Which means by pick 3, the top 2 quarterbacks are probably going to be gone. So I think that I do want to go for the top guy. Not only is he considered great at the top player in this draft, he's had an incredible 40 time. His stats across the board are incredible. He's also already 35% developed, which means he could probably step in first year to be a starter. Gerald, he is only a 9% developed, which means he's going to be a better player to ride the bench for a year or two. So let's see what we can do to potentially pull this pick from Pittsburgh. And one thing to keep in mind, if you do too many bad trades to teams, they start not liking to trade with you. So we have to kind of be careful in terms of what we're going to be offering Pittsburgh here. Now for first pick, first overall, we're going to have to give away a crap ton. This is probably going to be 3 first-round picks if I had to guess. We'll give them our first-round pick this year, which is going to be pick 13. We'll throw in our second-round pick, and then we'll throw in our first-round pick next year. They're probably not going to accept this, but let's check. Yeah, so they're not going for that. As I mentioned, it's probably going to be 3 first-round picks. Wow, they're not even doing it for 3 first-round picks. And in this game, I don't know if this is how it is in real life or not, but you can only do picks going forward 3 years. So that's not a good outlook for us. What do they need? They need a defensive end. Now, we do have a crap ton of defensive ends. That could be the play here. As I mentioned, Jermaine he's been our guy. He's getting a little bit old there for a defensive end, though. We do have these other 2 younger defensive ends that could potentially hold with Darren Parrish here. They might be scared of how much he costs. Let's add him in. Yes, he's unwilling to take that, which is kind of what I assumed. Maybe we'll throw him our 2 younger defensive ends. Yeah, I think they're sold on this top guy. I don't think I'm really going to be able to add much more to the board here. I'll try adding 2 second-round picks as well. You can only trade up to 4 or 5 things. I'll add my second round this year. So for 1 first round, 1 overall, we're offering 3 first rounders and 2 second rounders. He will accept that. Let me see really quickly if he'll. No. So this is going to be the play that basically defines the rest of our series here. We are about to trade away basically all of our first rounds for the next 3 seasons and 2 of our second rounds. I think that it needs to be done, especially with this quarterback. Now, there is a chance that this quarterback tanks, and we're then going to be in a horrendous situation. But I think this is one of those times where we need to go ahead and do it. All right. We have first overall, guys. We're going to get that top young quarterback. I just actually thought about something. I actually didn't interview that guy before I did that. Okay, good. He's as scouted. All right. We're good. We're good. We know who we're going first overall. Whew. All right. So now in free agency, we have to stack weapons for this guy. We can't let this guy get in here with nothing. So wide receiver, top guy on the list. Let's take a quick look at his stats. Wow. This is an older wide receiver. He's already 35. But he, outside of last season, he went for at least 1,000 yards every single season. So exactly the kind of player that I think I would want my young quarterback around. So let's try to make sure we get this guy. $72 million for 2 years. And there's also a top running back here. Once again, an older running back. Well, not older. How old is this guy? He's 30. He actually had the best season of his career last year. But he's probably asking for quite a bit. Yeah, not willing to pay that. We could help stack up our offensive line here. Three years ago, he allowed 12 sacks, which is no good, but it looks like he's fixed that. Although he only played 4 games last year. Never mind. All right. Let's get it. Oh, Henry signed with another team for less money. He probably didn't think that. Yeah, he was looking at our team right now and going, yeah, I'm not going to a team that has no quarterback. So let's go through this again. Jacksonville. All right. This says we need quarterback, running back, defensive tackle. There is a safety here. Safety is an area where we're still struggling a bit. This guy actually had a really good number of seasons. He had a down season last year. It looks like he got injured, though. What was his injury? looks like he's been having a lot of different like knee, leg injuries. Considering he's 34, that's probably a little bit too risky. Here's a top defensive tackle. It says we do need a defensive tackle, so let's go ahead and put in an offer here. Let's see. Becker expressed disappointment. Who's Becker? Becker is not even on our team anymore. He's going to free agency, so I had that same reaction in 7 because it worked the same way in 7. I find it a little bit weird that players that are technically no longer on your team because they're going to free agency have any say in this. But is what it is, and maybe there's a specific reason for that I'm just not thinking of. Let's see, another inside linebacker. Had a down year last year, but the 2 years that he played fully, he went for over 100 tackles. And he also got a couple of sacks, which is nice. I know that we have the one inside linebacker that's really good, but yeah, we're fine in terms of linebackers. Although we only have 2, and we do run 2 inside linebackers normally with our defensive schemes. So let's actually go ahead and put in an offer on this guy. I'll offer him more in the signing. All right. Look at that. Our computer actually re-signed Middleton for us. Now, I mentioned this in a previous episode because this does happen sometimes. When a player hits free agency on your team and your coaching staff wants to keep them on board, they will go in and sign them to a deal. They don't do this for like ridiculous deals, but if it's considered like too good of a deal to pass up, they do it. And even though I'm not a big fan of how this guy played last year, he is a player that, again, is still expected to get better. He has a decent intelligence, which means he should be able to train our young guy. And that deal is dirt cheap for a quarterback. Like, right now, even on his final year, we're going to pay him a total of about $7 million. A top 25 quarterback is worth 26. So I'm not opposed to my coaching staff stepping in there. Let's see. So we did. Okay, we did get the 2 guys that we put offers on. Perfect. Let's go to that gray sheet one more time here. Here's another wide out. Carson Graham. All right, he's had 2 1,200-yard seasons. He's not a big touchdown guy. He went for 500-plus yard games last year. All right. As I said, we need weapon. Oh, wait a second, though. Top 20 is 19. Okay, so he's just basically looking to be like a top 20 wide receiver. Yeah, let's do it. It's going to be hard now since the next 3 years we don't have a first-round pick. We're going to need to kind of get through here with some, I guess, older proven talents, I guess is going to be the best way to put that. Here's a guy, never really had a great season, but our coaching staff still thinks he's going to be decent. So let's go ahead and pull him in. And we'll increase one or two of these just to make sure that we get him. All right. All right, we got Graham, which is the first guy we were looking at. He signed that 5-year deal with us. And we also got the other guy. All right. So we now have basically DJ Martin. We're still hoping he comes back healthy. And then we have a bunch of average wide receivers. Not looking too pretty, but actually this guy has a chance of increasing still. Let's actually go ahead and re-sign him too. So hopefully that receiving core is going to be good enough. We need to figure out the running back situation. We do not have a decent running back to pair with this guy. So that's probably going to be what our other draft picks are going to be. So first overall, we're going Harry McGee. And we then need to find some diamonds in the rough because now I don't have a second round pick. So I'm going to have to get a third round pick here, which will probably start, depending on how running back heavy it is, it could start maybe here, or it could start like closer to down here. So I'm just going to start here and start interviewing away. Decent. No. Doesn't look promising. No. Maybe. Very overrated. Make sure to mark him blue. He's really high in two things, but here we go. Considered overrated. But if this guy falls to maybe round like 5, he might be worth it. So I'll mark him just to keep him in mind. He was considered as scouted. He's actually going to be a better pick than Bill then, so I'll mark that. How many do we have left? We have 6. It's considered overrated. This guy actually has some decent things, but he also had a very slow 40 time. But he does have a very high strength. It's considered very overrated. Okay. There's a decent late rounder, Bryce Croft. Ugh, I'm not going to go further down than that. Now we picked up a couple people. Okay, it still says we need the same 3 things. Maybe we can get a young defensive tackle. Now these tend to go relatively high, so this is probably too high of a pick. He was considered overrated, but he has a really high pass and rush defense, and he also got a really good 40 time, so I'll mark him very underrated. So Jameson, I'm going to mark him as blue, just so we can keep in mind which guy is probably going to be the better option here. And let's just take a look at maybe a fly wide receiver here. This is a guy that's going to require a lot of development. which means teams might not go for him too early. He's considered overrated, but he has so much development that I'm not too worried about that. He had the best 40 time in the draft. And actually also it looks like the best agility score. So I'm going to hope that if he falls to round 3, I have a feeling he's not going to, but if he does, that will probably be best option here. So just a reminder, quarterback, then we're either going to be looking at that wide out, that defensive tackle, or one of these running backs. All right. Skip remaining stages. We're also already relatively low on our cap, at least lower than we've been in previous seasons. So just another thing to keep in mind. All right. We're first overall. And we know who we're going here. Harry McGee. Come on, Harry. You are about to be the make or break story of this entire series. Select. All right. Just for funsies, I'm assuming here Anchorage is going to be going Rosenberg. They need a quarterback, so it would make sense. Yep. Okay, that's exactly who they went. So, all right. Now we don't have a pick for a long time, so I'm just going to switch it over to fastest. Just pause here for a second. Actually, look at that. Third quarterback off the board went at number 3. So it's probably a good thing that we traded up to number 1 here. We would have been able to get Rosenberg at 2, but according to our staff, McGee is the guy. So I have faith in our coaching staff to not steer us the wrong way here. All right, wide receiver. Yep, guy did go, so I was kind of expecting that. Running backs. There are a number on the board. Now, other teams are probably looking at these two as well, so they could go. But if we look at the main board here, the defensive tackle that we looked at is the best option for us. So we'll go ahead and select him. Just remind myself here. What? He was considered very underrated. Okay, good. Also, I was just looking here. This quarterback right here that lasted to round 3, his timing, read defense, and 2-minute offense are all low, but heck yeah on the rest. I'm actually going to mark him. If he by chance lasts until my next pick, watch, this is going to be one of those freaking RG3. I swear when I do this series, I always draw a blank on player names here. Quarterback that's now in Minnesota. Kirk Cousins, that's his name. Where we used our first round, first overall on the one guy, and then it's like, oh, well, this guy was actually a really good find in round 4. He is still sitting there. Those running backs, one will probably last until next round. Let's go ahead and take him. If McGee doesn't work out, I'm hoping that that guy does. Yeah, we'll go with the top or higher rated guy. The other running back is still here. What are we looking at in terms of player distribution? We actually still need a tight end and a safety. So let's actually look at those real quick. At this point, we're probably not going to find... Well, I was going to say we're not going to find too good of an option. This guy's actually not bad. tight end real quick. It's actually a decent looking tight end. We're definitely going to be more of a passing team this year, unless one of those running backs comes in clutch. So maybe I actually will go with this guy. That guy's not bad either. All right, let's go with this guy. Just make sure I'm choosing the right guy here. Yeah, select player. I'll switch back to that safety situation. Now we have the starters, but if we can find a diamond in the rough, it's always not hurting anybody. I guess I'll just put it that way. Meh. Let's just go top player on the board at this point. There's actually a running back. This is a guy that I actually skipped over. He's like a super hardcore inside runner, but everything else is just crap. The other running back is still here. We'll go ahead and do it. Hopefully one of them synergizes with this new quarterback situation we have going. Free. All right, here's the moment of truth. What is our coaching staff saying? All right, they're saying Harry McGee should, well, at least as of right now, they're hoping he increases to a 77. What about that other quarterback that would be grabbed? See, it's a good thing we didn't rely on that because it's saying that he's only going to progress to a 43. So, and just a reminder, we did re-sign Middleton, so they'll probably actually have a battle for the starting position here this year. And we're still waiting to see if DJ Martin fully recovers. All right. We do not have much money, and as a reminder, we're going to have to pay that corner next year. So we need to be very careful with our money situation here. Oh no, I re-signed that corner. I forgot. Okay. Okay. So if there are good players on the board, we should go ahead and snag them. What's our punter looking like? That's one that I have kind of glossed over here. He's a young guy. He can still, his ratings still might fluctuate, and we already have him on for 3 years, so not going to bother doing anything there. Young center that might have slipped through the draft. Young guard that did play a game, or did play a little bit last season, so he'll at least come in with some experience if we need to throw him in. How many? I probably do want at least another outside linebacker, so there are 2 options here. I'll go ahead and try the rookie. He'll be cheaper. And it looks like he's also expected to be a little bit better. Here's a corner who didn't do the combine and stuff, which again is always a red flag. But if he pans out, paying him a dirt cheap salary to get him on the team to begin with is never bad. Angel Long. Now, this is a guy that quote unquote might have slipped through the draft. He's considered the best quarterback that did not get drafted. Let me put it that way. He's definitely, right now he's at an 8 poor. So they're saying that he's going to probably be a player that takes 4 or 5 years to develop. I'm not going to bother with him. Here's top running back that slipped through the draft. We're going to have a number of running backs going in here to training camp and stuff, but you know what? Let them battle it out. Let's try to get a freaking decent running game going for once. Top farce or free safety here. I'll go ahead and give him an offer. We know our safety game is still struggling. So, all right. With that, we want to keep some money for any potential trades mid-season. So let's not get down to zero here. The guard and outside linebacker signed. All right, and now it looks like the far safety or free safety signed for us there. That's good. Why do I feel like one player... doesn't look like it. I was going to say, it looked like one player might have not signed with us, but it doesn't look like that happened, so never mind. We got the running back, we got the safety, or the center, and the corner. All right. Now, here's the hope. This season might be rough still, but we now have that quarterback that we are hoping is going to become our franchise here. So, the story begins in training camp. Here we go. We'll simulate through the preseason. All right. And we'll simulate week, or let's just check really quickly for any injuries. All right. One of our top inside linebackers has a broken clavicle. DJ Martin is expected at full strength in 3 weeks, but look at this. So first of all, he's coming off of injury. That's never good. He has some seasonal rust since he hasn't played in a while now. And you can see here, a lot of his numbers did drop. So not what we wanted to see, but it was on the table. We knew that was definitely a potential. The other three are not too worrisome. Lucas Hatch does have a sprained knee, but he should be back in 3. We have... Our young quarterback has a conflict with somebody. He has a conflict with Vernon Huffman. Now, let's not piss off our young guy. Who the hell is Vernon Huffman? Vernon Huffman. Our starting center. That is no good. Not only is that not good because this guy's also the key piece of our line here. He's our only starting lineman this year that's considered very good. Again, our tackle is still pushing up, but didn't make it all the way there. The other thing here that I just noticed, that quarterback did drop from, I forget what he was, I think like a 73. He did drop to a 65 after training camp and preseason. He's a rookie though, so these numbers are going to fluctuate quite a bit. All right. Yeah, so it's McGee and Middleton. They're going to be our 2 quarterbacks. We're not 100% sure which one's starting yet because, again, our coaching staff will determine this going into week 1, which is where we're going into right now. So, how bad is this conflict? It's not a slight conflict, but it's also not a severe conflict. They're going to have to deal with it because that's our, hopefully, franchise quarterback and his center. So we'll give it a couple of weeks and see if anything changes. All right, guys. Here we go. All right, we won week 1, and we won 37-10. So that's a beautiful start. Harry is starting for us. So let's take a quick look at how that game actually went for him here. AyyScare, not sure where to look for things. There we are, team summary. All right, look at you go. 25 of 31, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That is a wonderful looking start. Really got the ball around. His favorite target is the tight end, which is fine. And our running game was about where it's been. So, all right. And if you look here, our defense, through one game, very much still doing their thing. All right, we'll simulate 3 more weeks here. We're up to 2-0. We're up to 3-0. We're up to 4-0, baby. Let's go. All right. I was not expecting this season. Well, watch me completely jinx us here. I was not expecting this season to go as well as it currently is. Normally, those rookie quarterbacks struggle a hell of a lot. But here's the answer, right? Look, he's not doing outstandingly. He's a hell of a lot better than what we had going for us last season and every season that we've had so far. But look at this. Our running game is finally coming together. Jay Tucker here, averaging 6 yards over 62 attempts so far. So that will probably come back down to earth a little bit as we go through probably the next 3 games. But heck to the yes. Our defense is still stacked. Look at this. We're basically the top run defense. Everything down here, we're still like top 10 in. Pass attempts, you can't really blame a team for being, going up against a lot of passes, especially when the run defense is so good. So that number doesn't really matter. Basically, every single statistic in here, outside of pass defended percentage, is top 10. So, hail to the yes. All right. We'll simulate another 3 weeks, so that way we'll stop at the trade deadline. 5-0. There was our first loss. 6-1. All right. Before we continue here, now we're 6-1, so I probably don't want to switch anything up right now. But has that conflict changed at all? It still is considered a general conflict, so it hasn't progressed to be any worse or better. Not ideal, again, but at 6-1, and considering they're, to a certain extent, the 2 centerpieces of our offense, I'm not changing anything right now. Also, the 2 wide receivers that we got off of free agency, they're now our 2 starting wide receivers. They both actually upgraded to 51s, which is good. Again, kind of 50 is that line where you draw whether they are a starter or like meh starter / backup. So I'm happy that they both upgraded a little bit. This might mean DJ Martin, he is still on the team, but again, when he came back from that injury, he will likely not see the field much anymore. He's on his last year of contract. He has caught 4 catches this year, but he will probably not be with us next year. All right. So yeah, at this point, we'll just basically now simulate week by week until the end, unless things are looking a lot closer here, which we just lost 2 games, so definitely a possibility here. 7-3, 8-3, 8-4. We'll do one more week here, and then we'll run the little probability thing. We're 9-4. Let's take a look at standings real quick. Where are we at? So we're Jacksonville. Blue, I believe, means... Let me just look at this. That means that we're currently in to be a wild card team. Okay. Hopefully we can overtake Indianapolis and get a bye. Let's take a look at that playoff probability. All right. So chances of us making playoffs right now is 75%. Only 10% of us getting that bye, though. So we'll probably be clawing our way through wild card, but let's not get ahead of our horses here. There is still a 25% chance that we do not make playoffs. So let's hope for a good end of season here. This is our game against Indianapolis, which is going to be key for us to potentially get a bye. Let's see if we can do it. We did lose to Indianapolis, so there goes our shot at getting a bye. Oh, geez, not an easy end of the season here. We're going up against New York, who are 11-3. We didn't win. And now we're up against Athens, which probably means we are playing to get into playoffs here. We lost. We might have not made playoffs. Which, if we didn't make playoffs, it's not the end of the world, like I said. Considering that our rookie quarterback did as well as he did, I'm definitely not mad. But let's see. Yep, we did not make playoffs, guys. So that is disappointing, but we'll go ahead and run through playoffs here. Super Bowl, Minnesota versus Oakland. Minnesota takes it this year. So before we close out here, let's take a look here at kind of what ended up changing. It looks like McGee might have gotten hurt. No? Okay, I'm not 100% sure. For some reason, our coaching staff decided to start Middleton for 2 games. It looks like McGee might have gone on a little bit of an interception spree here. Yep, that's exactly what happened here. This game right here, he went for 4 interceptions. Next game, he didn't do much better. He only got 1 interception, but his overall stats didn't improve much. Then he had another down game, it looks like. And it looks like at a certain point there, our coaching staff decided to throw in Middleton probably to try to get us into playoffs. So, is what it is. What I will say, McGee is looking to be our guy. We have to give him another year or 2 to see where he really pans out. But this has, even though we didn't make playoffs this year, this is by far the best our team has looked. We have that guy, McGee, hopefully coming in strong. Our running game, we actually had a 1,000-yard rusher this year, and we actually averaged kind of in that 4. We actually averaged 4.8, which is hella good. We've really spread that ball around, especially since we have Watanabe, who's our tight end, who actually has been very good for us. But again, he's a tight end, so he's not normally going to be your top target, but he is on our team. So getting our young quarterback, probably a good weapon, is going to be key for us. But look at his freaking defense. And I knew, looking at like stats and how we had been doing, we knew that our defense was good. It's that our offense has been so terrible. Now that we actually have a acceptable offense, our defense, if you look just across the board here, easily finished a top 3 defense. So hopefully we can keep that up and build up our offense a bit more. Let's take a quick look if we got any season awards. Season awards. Look at this. We got a couple. McGee got Offensive Rookie of the Year. Our center got First Team Center. We got First Team Kicker. That was the kicker that we drafted our first year together, I think. Jermaine ended up getting Second Team Defensive End. So that's the best that we've seen in here so far. Just out of interest, let me see, because this is something I haven't looked at yet in this game. Actually, I know which team got him. I wanted to see how the other quarterback that went second overall is panning out. He only started 2 games this year, so not enough to go on. It looks like he is expected to become a 66, at least according to our staff. Our guy is currently expected to become a 67, so we'll see. We got Rookie of the Year, so I can't put too much into those numbers right now. I am pretty pumped, though. We now have that centerpiece that we had been waiting on. We've lost a number of draft picks, but I think the future is looking good. So if you stuck around with me throughout this episode, thank you for sticking around, and I will hopefully see you guys next time. Until then, AyyScare out.